Um, Thank you for everyone who's joined us, both here in person and online. I want to begin by thanking the partners for the Lawyers Brown Bag Lunch series. Partners of American Jewish Committee, the American Association of Jewish Lawyers and Jurists, AAJLJ, the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington Next Gen Lawyers and Lawyers Division, and Tzedek DC as well for hosting this conversation, allowing us to bring Ella to provide some information about her organization and the work she is doing, both in the legal field in Israel, but also broader in the community in Israel. I'll also say that this program is available to us and is possible due to the recent launch of JCRC's new initiative, the Greater Washington Partners for Peace Initiative, which aims to highlight people-to-people organizations and cross-border organizations that bring Israelis and Palestinians and Israelis and Arabs closer together, and for hopefully bring about a better future for Israel, for Israelis, for the region, for Palestinians, of course, and the Arab community in Israel. I want to thank the steering committee both for the Lawyers Lunch and for the Partners for Peace Initiative, who have guided this this initiative from the start, and the Lawyers Steering Committee for providing the opportunity for us to speak here, for Ella to speak here in front of us. And I hope the community, the entire DC region, will stay engaged in this conversation and want to be engaged in this initiative, bringing forth a more hopeful vision to the region. And I hope Ella here, talking about her organization and the work that they do, will provide just an insight in one organization that does some of that work. So I'm going to pass it over to Ella in a second. I will just introduce her first. So Ella Alon, she is the co-executive director of Itach Maki, Women Lawyers for Social Justice. It was established in 2001 to give a choice to women subject to social, geographic, national, ethnic, and economic discrimination in Israel. Before joining Itach Maki, Ella was head of legal department and deputy of the regulator of cooperatives in the Ministry of Economy. Ella's legal areas of expertise are labor law and social security, including legal support to organizing workers, administrative law and municipal law, access to justice, corporate and cooperative law, and legal work with communities in transformation. So with that, I will pass it over to Ella. And Ella, thank you again for being here with us.
Yes. It's really good to be here. I never thought, I was not sure that I will be able to come because of the war. But this was the first war that I was not alone, because my husband, he's a lawyer in the army, and now he's retired. So every time, and he's dealing with the international law. So every time there was a war, I was alone with the kids, and this time he was with them. So at least it's better. I will tell you a bit about myself, and then about Hanan, my co-executive director. I'll tell a bit, and then about the organization. So I was born in Haifa. The house that I lived in Haifa was just not destroyed, but it was hit by a missile, by Iran missile during the last week of the war. 4 people were killed, and I just found out that it was the house that I lived in for many years. I lived in a middle-class secular family, but there was violence in my house from my father to my mother, and it was this is like how I grew. And I will tell you that it taught me 3 things for my life. Like, the first thing is responsibility for the people around me. The second thing is that about control and power dynamics. And the third thing is that not to be judgmental. Like if it happened in my family and my father is a good man and is just had a rough childhood and some personality problems, but he's not a bad man. So I know that if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone. So I'm coming to the world with this perspective, not to be judgmental. When I was 16 years old, I started to study law in Tel Aviv University before the army. I skipped the class, this is why I'm 16. And then I established together with friends the movement to fighting poverty. It's a movement that of students and lawyers that it's a volunteer movement, no budget at all, that give legal advice by students in courts, in community centers, and it still exists, though no budget at all. But it was like it was established in the 90s, and it still exists. Then after studying law, I served as a lawyer in the army, and then I was the legal advisor of the Rescue and Fire Commission, and then I joined the legal clinics in Tel Aviv University and the Public Interest Law Center, and there I did some really interesting things like establish a democratic union. It's called Koach La'Ovdim. It's a workers' union that is built on democratic principles, and it's like it was to challenge the Histadrut, the big union in Israel. So it's really interesting organizing workers. And I also established a list in the election to the Bar Association that represents public interest lawyers. And then after I gave birth, I started to work in the government as the deputy of the registrar of cooperatives. And after that, I started to work in Itach Ma'aki in 2019. I would say that I first knew Itach Ma'aki in the work we had a project with them in the legal clinics about employment of Arab women. So this is how I got to know this amazing organization. So I started in 2019, and in 2024, Hanan joined me as a co-director. She used to head our Negev branch. And this is one of the good results of the war. We understood that we should be led, we should lead together. We should lead together Arab and we feel like this is the future. And when we during the war we understood that it's the right way to go, because we considered it for a long time. And Hanan, she saw me how I struggle leading a Jewish Arab organization during the war, and then she decided that it's the right thing, and she joined me in leading the organization. I would tell you that Hanan is much more, her story is much more interesting than me, and I will advise you to invite her someday. I will just say that she used to be, as a child, she used to be a shepherd. So, but I will not say much more. So you will be interested to invite them. And you can go. Okay. So about Itach Ma'aki, so we are an intersectional feminist organization and a shared society organization. And Itach means with you in a feminine tense, both in Hebrew and in Arabic, Itach Ma'aki. And our work is really to bring the women that are not held to decision-making tables. Women that usually we don't hear the story. We were established by feminist lawyers who thought that the other organizations that represent women, they reach women who are in a high socioeconomic level, and they thought that there should be an organization that looks at the periphery, at minorities, and sees their needs and include them in decision making. So our mission is to work with women leaders in order to make them part of decision making, and so there will be inclusive. They will bring inclusive policy that will ensure safety, basic rights, and reduction of social gaps for all the communities in Israel. So we would like, when we are talking about women's rights, we are not talking just women's voices and rights. We are talking about all the community, all the communities that they represent. Women usually see children needs, elderly needs, the needs of people with disability that they take care of. So when we talk about gender lens and women needs, we talk about everyone that should be included in the decision making. So our values are first, inclusion. We feel like the situation we are in now is the reason for this situation is partly because there are not enough voices including in decision making. We feel that the government with its decisions they don't guarantee our safety. They do things that undermine our safety. Not just in Israel, but I feel that the safety of like the Jewish community in the world, and also other and also not just the Jewish community. I think that the decision may endanger them, and it's like something that I really feel that if there were more women in decision-making tables and diverse women that represent different societies, then the decisions will be more attentive to people's needs. The other value is solidarity. We believe that in order to change, we need to work together. We need to look at the people that are most vulnerable and promote them and promote their needs. And we feel like this is the way to bridge communities and to build a better future. The other value is peace. We believe that the only solution to ensure our safety is to stop the violence, to stop the occupation, to stop the war, and to promote inclusive and sustainable political agreements. I would say that researchers show that if there are more women around the table when negotiating peace, there's like 35% more chance that there will be a long-term agreement. So I think it's like one of the problems why we haven't been able to reach peace by now that women were not around the table, and I think that if we want to try and to accept and to expect different results, we need to try to do different things. And one of the things is to include more women from diverse societies and more people from diverse societies, not just women, around the table. So, and I will tell you more about our work on this issue later.
I will just add before Ella continues that if you have any questions online, feel free to put those questions in the chat. And we will get to them once Ella finishes her presentation.
Okay, so we work in Itach Maki in three strategies. One is protection. We work to give legal aid specifically to women, and we help them to access the rights. I will tell you more about each strategy and what we are doing later, but just to put it so we will understand what we are doing. We work with women leaders. We train them. We go with them to the Knesset. We help them bring their voices to the media. We don't just train women. We work with the alumni, and we have them. We look at them as our community, and we work together with them. And the next and the last strategy is a policy and advocacy, and this is like to bring gender perspective, to bring the needs of women and of women from diverse community into decision-making tables. If you can see, like I have a pin, it's like 1325. It's the UN Security Council resolution that talks about women, peace, and security, and these are our pillars, the pillars of the decision: protection, representation, and gender mainstreaming. Because the UN Security Council, it's like their mission is not to promote gender equality; it's to promote peace. But understanding that women are victims and victims of terrible wars that hurt them in terrible ways, but they are almost not part of decision making. Then the UN decided that the states should protect women, ensure representation of women in decision making tables, and promote gender mainstreaming and bring the needs of women to decisions around peace and security. And many countries have plans, action plan to promote this 1325 policy. Even the US had in the last Trump administration, but I think they canceled it. In this administration, but like more than 100 states have it. Israel doesn't have it, and this is part of what we're trying to do. Okay, so we'll start about our legal aid work. It's legal aid and policy. So we help around 1,500 women a year. And we work especially on issues on employment and social security, but also in the Negev for Bedouin women, because there is so much need. We work on other issues because we know that if a woman is hungry, then she will not be able to take care of her legal issues. So sometimes we help her on other levels, especially after the war. We will soon get into our humanitarian work after the war. I will tell you that one of the things we help women in order to see the needs of women from the ground, the needs that we get. So during the war, we recognized that some women were unprotected by the compensation laws. So we had a lot of policy work around it, trying to ensure that they will get compensation for lost salary. And we had like it's really frustrating to see how the war is continuing like 2.5 years already, but there's there's no one, there's like no solution that will protect the workers' rights. And we had a lot of policy work done in this area with our partners organizations, and yet nothing changed in the law. There are like law proposals that will ensure salaries for workers when they can't work because of the war, but it was not promoted by the government. And so we got to the Iran war with nothing, and they didn't really hurry to solve this problem and to enact a law that is relevant for this war. They need to make a law for every war, and not something that will be in general. So now I can tell you that the law compensating businesses for their loss, and also they will be able to pay for their workers. It's still in the committees in the Knesset. They started discussing it after Pesach, like 1.5 months after the war started. So it's like you can just see, and they said it's not so urgent, and it means that employers don't know if they need to send their employees to leave without payment, so they'll get employment benefits, or they will be able to pay them with the compensation that the government will give them. So, and this is the situation we are in now. I can tell you that one success that we had after a long time that we tried is about hourly workers. Hourly workers did not get any compensation because their employer said that they are still working, but they worked less, or even not at all. And then they couldn't get the unemployment benefits, and they because they didn't work full time, they were not entitled to get other compensation from the business compensation. So they just fell between the chairs, and now in the Iran war, finally the institution, the National Insurance Institution decided that they will be able to turn themselves without the approval of their employer to get unemployment benefits. And then the institution will go to the employer and ask them if they are like on a leave. So it's like it's the first step in the right direction. So they will be able to get some compensation without a letter from the employer. So there are small changes that do happen thanks to our work. I can tell you that in the hearing in the Knesset about this issue, all they talked about is hourly employees. So it's like it's a real change because they were like not considered in other wars. Okay, we'll see a video about our work in the some of our work in the war.
I think it will work.
it's like,
Well, we could put this
Yeah.
right here also.
Well, I don't have my phone on my computer.
Huh?
I'm gonna get that.
Well, why don't we play? Oh, you want to play? Let me see. If you play it here, will they hear it?
Try.
No.
but it's in Hebrew, so you can read the
Okay, we'll just read.
subtitles.
I guess. Okay. Well, technological issues. Not something uncommon.
You
All
need
right.
to share like the
We can
also
share
the
that.
sound.
We can share that. I know I can't.
You turn on the mic. Will it work?
No.
Why don't you turn on your audio?
You'll pick up the microphone you already have.
But that's when we have the echo.
That's when we have the echo. We're just trying to.
But maybe we can,
עובדות 200 סלי מזון.
ציוד רפואי, עזרה ראשונה של כל מה שצריך באמת. שולחים את זה למשפחות מהדרום, יהודיות וערביות שנפגעו. ב7 לאוקטובר, משפחות גם ערביות וגם יהודיות שילמו מחיר כבד. 19 נרצחים מהחברה הבדואית, 9 חטופים שנמצאים עכשיו בעזה שאנחנו יודעים עליהם, פצועים, משפחות שהבית שלהן נהרס. כולנו משלמים מחיר עצום של כאב, כולנו מלקקים את הפצעים, מפחדים על החיים שלנו. ואנחנו מנסים כאן בחמ"ל הזה, בקטנה, לעזור, לסייע, להושיט יד.
להגיד שאנחנו ביחד ואנחנו שותפים.
זה בדם, כאילו מתרגל לעבור אתה עוזר.
As you can see, there are still a lot of empty parcels that are waiting for us to fill them with a lot of hope as well as food.
לא ניתן לחמאס להרוס את מרקם החיים המשותף שיש כאן בישראל בין יהודים לערבים.
זו הזדמנות בשבילנו להדהד כמה שהשותפות היהודית-ערבית היא קריטית בשביל החוסן הישראלי שלנו במדינה הזאת.
זה מעבר לחנת סרמונון, זה אירוע של קירוב לבבות, אירוע של חיבורים ביחד, וזה גורל אחד.
זה הגורל שלנו, אנחנו שותפים לגורל ושותפים למאמץ.
ורק בשורות טובות אינשאללה לכולם.
being fair in our country. It's part of the, the Tikva. So, and Yala Tikva, yeah? It's like an organization in Israel that works to bring the liberal voice in like really good videos. So I will take, in the video you saw our joint Jewish Arab Emergency Center that we opened, like it was in Rahat. We opened it a few days after the war started, and it was really amazing because everyone wanted to volunteer after the terrible Hamas attack, and we didn't know if people want to volunteer Jewish and Arab together, and but they did. Like so many came, and not only people came, also like decision makers. You can see here in the picture Gantz, but I can tell you that I was there with 20 people from the Ministry of Justice who came and wanted to access their services. And they sat with us, and they also wanted to hear the needs of women in the ground. It was really, and what they told us is that we are not only distributing baskets of food, but also baskets of hope. And in the video you saw our lawyer Shirin Abu Amar. Her house was destroyed in the first day of the war. her husband, like in the first 2 hours of the war, something like this, 2 or 3 hours. So her husband, he's a cop, and he came back from his shift and he was sleeping. And then she was able to convince him to go. The shelters were closed. They have a shelter right next to their house, but it was closed. And she convinced him to go down and take cover below the staircase, a really small staircase. I was in their house after it was rebuilt. They have like really small kids, and she was pregnant at the time. And they were not hurt, but the house was destroyed, and they had to leave and come back after a year. So this is how we started the war. But after a week, she came back to work, and she was so amazing, leading a lot of legal work to help women, and also policy work to bring the needs of women to decision making. She wrote a lot of letters, and she really made a difference. So it's to see it, it's like to remember it. It's 2.5 years ago, but there are some good things that came out of the war, like this, like working together, Arab and Jewish. They also gave food parcels both to Jewish families and to Arab families. So it was like, and the donors were both Jewish and Arabs, and the people who collected the food. So it was amazing experience. And we also had humanitarian work in the unrecognized villages. We opened 16 emergency relief centers, and we distributed food packages there, and also other needs. We also gave the need for our work was because women that are some women in the unrecognized villages are deserted women that used to be married. Their husband took another wife, so now they are like deserted or single mothers, and those women will not get any help from regular sources, like because usually they work for the head of the tribe and for the families, and those women will not get from anyone. This is why they needed our help. So what we did was we worked with a net of women, net of leaders that Hanan, my partner, she established in 2013 in order to vote in the elections. Because women from the unrecognized villages, they have to go like sometimes 40 kilometers in order to vote, because they don't have polls in the unrecognized villages, and they are all connected to other places where they can vote. So it's like only 5% of the women voted. So Hanan made a net that drove the women with the help of the leaders. They drove them to vote, and after this initiative, they were like 22% of women voting in the unrecognized villages. So when the war started, she just like started working with this net again. And there are amazing women, amazing leaders that they are called Al-Nashamiyat. It's like the women who like to help and want to help, and they also and they really represent. They speak in the media, they speak in the Knesset. I went with them to the Knesset and spoke with them about Bedouin women needs. And also another really interesting thing that we did, we saw how people are in so much distress in the unrecognized villages because there are no shelters there. There are no sirens. There are even no coverage of Iron Dome. So there are many people who got hurt from Hamas missiles. There are more people killed in the unrecognized villages than all over the country for missiles because of the lack of protection. And we saw that they have a lot of emotional distress. So we brought a therapist to sit with them. The leaders took women from the village that needed this help, and they sat together and they spoke about their needs, and then it's like she's a hero because no one wanted to come to the villages because there were really no protection at that time, and there were missiles, and but she decided that they need her, and she came, and they wouldn't let her go, and after this we understood that also the children are in need for emotional support, so we brought another psychologist that worked with the children, and he did this meeting with them. So it was really necessary and helped them. So one other good thing that came out of this war was that we understood that we should invest in the leaders, that they can do so much and they are so needed in decision-making tables. And so we started a training to help those women learn how to help the women in their villages access to rights and how to speak in the media and speak in the Knesset. And so we trained them, and now they are like agents of change. I can tell you something that happened really recently in Passover, that one of those leaders, she managed to convince the mayor of Yerucham. She is from Rachme. It's next to Yerucham. You know Yerucham? It's like a town in the Negev, Jewish town in the Negev. So Rachme is an unrecognized village that is close to Yerucham, and they convinced the mayor of Yerucham to give them 2 shelters. And so Yerucham donated those shelters, but they needed to raise money in order to bring them to the village. And there are like no roads, and the ways are really it was really difficult to bring those shelters. It took like a few days, but they needed money in order to pay the movers. And so she asked us if we can help. And it was Passover, everyone was on the vacation, so we decided like to write something and send our community if they can help with, and like in less than 24 hours, we managed to raise 20,000 NIS in order to do this, and you can see in the picture that it arrived. It arrived after the ceasefire, and I hope that it will be only used for peace purposes. But let's see. In our area, we can never know. Okay, this is like another video, and it will describe. You can see it is part of a movie that was made about Hanan and our work after the war. It's called Her War Hanan. It was made by the Israeli broadcast channel, and you will see the work that I told you about the therapy sessions. So you can see it. It will start with the siren, but it's recorded. So don't worry. In Israel, it's like trauma, but
ما حد يظل هنا. لا تخاف لا تخاف، اركب بس اركب بس. لا تخاف لا.
Okay.
Okay, so I will tell you something else about what we are trying to do now. With you see here that people are really not protected, and now the government decided that to invest some money, like 18 million shekels in shelters for the Arab society, and for this, it's like 1,000 shelters. From this, 100 are going to the Negev, and 40 are going to the unrecognized villages. It's going to so it's like a drop in the sea. It's not much, because there are like 100,000 people in the unrecognized villages, and in these shelters, like 10, 20 can fit. So it's not much, but it's something. And those children are protected. What we are trying to do with those, we also try to convince the government that they should do more. But with those 40 shelters, we try to, they want to put it near community centers, and it's really far away from where people live. So we try to convince them to listen to the voices of women and about where to put those shelters, so people can actually reach them in time of alarm. So we continue to work on this issue and try to have the voice of women and of reason in these discussions.
Okay, let's try this again.
تعال تعال اركب سيارة، اركب سيارة.
ايش التحديات الجديدة اللي صارت في
tell you a bit about
Okay, there we go.
what's in this video. So they talk about like the feeling of women that they feel like they've done so much to help their Jewish neighbors, and yet they feel like people are afraid to hear Arabic. And one of our leaders tells that her daughter was fired because she spoke Arabic in the store that she worked in, and that they feel like, though they are certainly part of the efforts to make things better, they are considered as enemies and as others, and I think it's really important to see this. And to see how they feeling, how they feel when they feel so excluded from the Israeli society, though they've done nothing but to help, and after the war, voluntarily, no one paid them. So it's like it's really terrible to see.
All right, you give one more try, and then I'm going to turn that off.
حياتي اللي أنا ما كنت بفكر فيها، أنا مع إني كنت في قرية غير معترف فيها ما كنت بواجهها. يعني الناس
So there's like the whole film that you should one day maybe we'll do a screening of this film. And,
For war.
Yes,
War. Yes.
It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, we
Though
will.
depressing.
Yeah, we will definitely send this short video around after the presentation.
Yes, but it's like an hour. It's part of an hour. Okay. So another thing that we do, we work with local authorities, specifically in the last few years, specifically in Arab local authorities. But before we also worked in Haifa and in Akko, in the Mate Asher regional authority. So what we are doing is, and we did this project where we worked with another organization. The other organization worked to nominate gender advisors in Arab local authorities. There were 8 there are 84 Arab localities. Only in 8 of them there was a gender advisor that was nominated legally, and the role of gender advisors is to bring the gender perspective to decision makers in the local authority. They have to be in every table and bring the gender lens to decision making. So it's a tool that really resonates with us. It's something that we believe that this how people should work, like seeing the gender implications of every decision. So this is why we invest in them as agents of change. So when we finished this project, there were 60 localities, Arab localities, that they were legally nominated gender advisors, and we worked with them in order to give them tools to do their work. We did the training, and also we helped them, advised them, and we also made like materials so they can learn from and use in their work, and now we continue to work with them. Another thing that we did was to work with 2 Bedouin localities in the Negev. This is something about the area of gender-based violence. It's something that never happened before. Gender-based violence is very common in the Bedouin society. I can tell you that we had a research about the women that turned to our Bedouin Women Rights Center, and we found out that more than 90% of them were victims of some kind of gender-based violence, and they didn't come to us because of this problem, but they also most of them suffered from violence, and it's something that it's not spoken about in the Bedouin society because it's so common. And we were able to convince two municipalities to work with us in order to have a prevention plan and the plan on this issue. I will tell you that unfortunately, because of lack of funding for this program, we had to stop it. I hope that in the future we will be able to continue this. I will say that one of the things we try to do is to show how gender lens can change the world, not just on gender issues. So this is a really good example. Part of our work is about gender mainstreaming of the 5-year plans for Arab society. It's a 5-year plan of 30 billion shekels that is supposed to narrow the gaps between the Arab and the Jewish society. And it was planned in the change government, and this government tried to stop it in many ways. They cut it after the war. They said there's no budget, so they cut everything in 5%. And in this plan, they cut 15% of this plan. And then now they say the Minister of Social Equality, Mai Golan, she's responsible for this plan, and she said, and she really don't want to promote it, so she said that she will give the money to the police and Shabak. So they will be able to stop the violence in the Arab society. But there are other budgets that are meant for this, and they are not used fully. But still, she wanted to kill this plan and to give 3 billion shekels to the police without any plan of how to do it and how it will help. And what we did was to turn to the head of the Committee of Advancement of Women, who used to be the Minister of Social Equality before Mai Golan in the previous government, and she made this 5-year plan. And we turned to her because we work on women issues, so we told her that it will really help Arab women. And she called a hearing in the Knesset, and 8 ministries of government ministries came to this hearing and said that they are against this cut. And in the end, the cut was a lot smaller. So it's like through the many times when you see women and how and the suffering of women, it makes you want to change things. It's like make things more human, and this is how the way we try to change the world through women's experience and life.
When you said change government, you meant the previous government before the current government.
Yes,
Yeah.
we call it the
change
government.
Sorry.
It was unfortunately it was only it was only for a year and a half.
Yeah. do want to leave time for questions, so
Okay.
if you want to, yeah.
Okay, so I will tell you about our Women, Peace and Security Center. What we do there is we saw that there are no women in peace negotiations, and also not in informal peace negotiations, like when embassies or international bodies they try to do some informal talks between Israelis and Palestinians, and even in those there are no women, and we always ask why. They said no, there are no women that are experts in this issue. There are no women that want to be there. So we said, okay, we will train women. So we did a really, we trained 52 women from a high level from many sectors, the public sector, private sector, civil society, and we brought them into embassies, and each of the sessions was in a different embassy, so they will be able to meet diplomats and to learn from their experience. And we trained them in a peace negotiation from a gender perspective. Also, there were similar training in Palestine in the Palestinian Authority. They also trained 50 women, and it was like a joint project. And I can say I can say proudly that now there are like 15 of our alumni that are part of track 2 and track 1.5 peace talks, like informal peace talks. And also our team, I can say that last week there was the Global Alliance. It's like the French Saudi Arabia Initiative for Peace for Two-State Solution. And there was a meeting in Brussels, and there was a panel of CSOs organized by Olmec, and one of the three representatives of civil society organization was our co-director of our Women, Peace and Security Center. Nida Shugri. She has a PhD in political science, and she's not a lawyer, and she represented the civil society and said why inclusion is so important in peace talks. And also we have a cross-border steering committee. It was established in 2020, and it was we learned from other conflict zones or former conflict zones from other countries like Ireland, Colombia, Philippines, and we learned from their lessons, and we see how women were able to change. And like in the Colombia conflict, women, there was a committee of women that they worked on everything that was agreed. They made it more. They included women needs in it. It was like a really feminist peace agreement. It even. It was hard to it was ratified in like they voted on it, and because of the feminist perspective, it was a bit difficult to pass it, but in the end it passed, and it is sustainable. So it's not that they don't have problems, but we learned from this model, and we tried to bring it also to the Israeli to the Israel-Palestinian conflict, and I can say that even after October 7th, in the week of October 7th, we met together with our Palestinian partners to this steering committee. And it was really difficult, but it was, we learned from the women from Ireland that we should continue to meet no matter what, because this is the only way to work, to find solutions. In Ireland, the women were the only one who talked to everybody, from both sides. So, and it really changed the way it made it work. Okay, so another thing that we do is try to, because all the media and the public sphere is filled with all sorts of things that are mostly terrible. We need to find a way to, creative ways to influence. So one of the things we did was we made 6 meters puppets or dolls, and and they are very diverse. You can see with messages, and the message is that more women should be on the top, and in Hebrew it's better because it's in the head, and in the top it's the same word in Hebrew. So we put it in the demonstrations in Kaplan. So so because we wanted to convince people that they should that this is part of the solution, that women will be part of decision makers. And also we collect testimonies from women. We collected testimonies from women that were evicted from the Gaza Strip, the Gaza the Gaza envelope, and women women leaders in the unrecognized villages in the Negev, also from a mother to soldiers. Now we're going to collect from Druze women, and we try to bring varied views of women in order not just to see them to see how they were victimized or how they are heroes, but also to see their views about what should be in Israel, what should be, how can we fix, to learn from their experience of surviving in this terrible situation, to learn from them how they survived, what they need. So because we believe that if eventually the peace agreement will include their voices and their needs, then it will be better, and it will sustain better. And we also collected evidence from women without status that live in Jerusalem, and women from Safariata, and we try and we made an online database, so it's also in English. And so the voices will be heard, and we hope that that part of that, like in Colombia, they started the peace negotiations with testimonies of men and women, but mostly women, that told about their experience. So this is our inspiration. Okay, so what's next? First, the elections. There are so critical elections, and I think that it's we have to do everything to win them. We believe that women being part of being in the list for the Knesset, we saw that it will make people support go to vote, and people will like to vote for better for parties with equal representation. And also in the Arab society, there are polls that show this. And this is what we invest in, because we have a unique place that can influence in the Arab parties, because we are not affiliated with any party, unlike other organizations. So we lead this effort in the Arab society.
Ella,
I'm going to pause you right
Okay.
here for a second. Everyone that is here and online can read through these priorities on your agenda. I want to be able to take some questions if there's some in the room or from our audience. And I know Vicky's keeping track of our questions here. So anyone have in the room? We can start with Harvey.
I guess two questions. One is with respect to the Haredi and the Druze community, and you talked about the Arab Bedouins, but what about Israeli Arab women? What are the main legal issues that you hear from those three communities? My second question is, how are you funded?
Okay, so we work a lot with the Haredi community. Especially, we help them. And it was not easy to get to the place that they turn to us, and we help them. But we, especially in the education sector, they are employed in terrible conditions, and they don't get their rights. So we did some precedents that in the court, so they will be able to get the same rights as in local authorities, because they have a different education system. So and they don't give the workers, and I'm talking especially about teachers' aides, assistants. They don't give them their rights. So we represent them, and we help them get the rights, and we also help them organize, which was amazing to see Haredi women organize. And they had some really good achievements until they were fired, and they decided that they don't want to fight anymore. And about the funding
before you answer the funding, I'm going to add on to that, because there is a question online to just hear more about the organization. How many people are you? Do you have volunteers? It sounds like you're doing great work, but how does that all work? So I just wanted to piggyback that with the funding question.
Okay, so we have 18 staff members, and also we have volunteers that. The volunteers usually do the intake. They when we have calls from women, they get back to them and they ask them what they need, and then the lawyer helps them understand. They give the help they need. Our funding, we are funded. We are not funded by the government. We used to be funded partially by the government until 2019, and then for our legal aid hotline. But then they stopped this stream of funding, and so we are mostly funded by foundations. And also a lot of funding from the EU, from governments, other governments, embassies. So this is like a lot of our funding, especially this year. So, but it changes from year to year. I can't say that we don't have like core funding. We always need to see how we will fund the organization next year. We have some foundations that go with us, but most of our funding is project based, and it's not so easy.
Are there opportunities for American U.S. attorneys to help in any of the initiatives that you're doing?
It's a good question. I think that perhaps to help with the advocacy, especially in the peace, in our peace, women, peace and security work, to bring the needs of women to decision making, and to international community. If this is something that they can help with, this can be really valuable to open doors so people will hear us. To listen to the voices of different communities in Israel and their needs. I think this can be really helpful.
If people are interested, is there something like on your website that would direct them to the right place, or should we just send out your information after this event and people can be in direct touch with you?
In the end of the presentation, there's you can scan and then you can get a newsletter from our organization. We don't send much, but if we send, it's really interesting. And you can also write us. I can leave my details, and you can write us an email, and we will be really happy.
Yeah, I think that's something we can send around after, including the
video.
QR code and the video and information to get involved and to get in touch with you.
Before I take more from online, are there other questions in the room?
I'll just follow up on the question I'd asked also about not just the Haredi community, but what about the Druze community? What are the combinations that women in that community face, and also the rest of the Arab community in addition to Bedouins?
So they have the Arab and the Druze community, they have the same problems. Though the Druze serve in the army, they are really discriminated against in every aspect of life. If it's employment, women employment is very low of Arab women compared to Jewish women. Also transportation, infrastructure, places to work in. In every aspect of life, there are a lot of gaps, and this is the purpose of the 5-year plan to close part of those gaps. But because of its because the Arab society is a traditional society that sometimes they have other needs. Like if there will not be a place to work in the village or in the city, then women will not be able to go there. And they also daycare. They don't have daycares. There are many things that they don't have the infrastructure needed to have full employment and to do what they have really low salaries, even lower than the minimum wage, because there is so lack of employment that women are ready to work with low salaries. So it's they have lots of and we try that the money invested in development will also go to women, so their situation will be better too.
Can you speak a little bit more about the upcoming elections and the impact that will have on rights for women? You know, how I think there's maybe some skepticism that a shift would actually have that big of an impact. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
I think maybe a focus also what results would you optimally hope for in terms of representation in the government?
I think that in the change government, in the last government, there were. I think that we also worked before those elections, so there will be more women in decision-making tables. But I think that there were 9 women ministers. There were 10 general executives of ministries. Now I think that today they nominated the first women a general director of a ministry in Israel in this government. Like
After 3.5 years of
yes,
government already.
yes. So it's like I think that I'm really optimistic on this representation of women issue. But I'm less optimistic on really critical issues like Jewish-Arab partnership. We saw that Lapid and Bennett just united, but they said that they will not sit with Arabs in the government. And why? Why not? Like they were really good partners in the last government. There's no reason for this except for accepting the narrative of the government of hate, and so this is a bit disappointing. I hope it will change, but I think it's critical because we don't know if they will have a majority without the Arabs, and I think it's like we need to change this narrative. It's really. It's difficult to see now. I was more optimistic a few days ago, but let's see what will happen.
One last question that is coming in is if you could speak a little bit about domestic violence in the courts. Like, is there in a lot of states here, there might be a whole separate docket for hearing domestic violence cases. Does something like that exist in Israel? How does that operate?
No. In Israel, but I know that a lawyer that used to work in Itach Maki, she's working on this, and she's trying to make a problem-solving court for domestic violence. But now it's not even in the same. There is the family court that deals with disputes in the family, but there is the criminal court. This another court that deals with domestic violence cases. So it's even not in the same court, and it's really problematic. And it's like so. I don't think that courts are the solution for gender-based violence. I think that we need to invest so much in preventing and education. And to find and to help women in many other ways, but sometimes you need to go to court, and I really believe in this solution of problem-solving courts.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Great. Well, I want to thank everyone who's joined us here in person and online, and I hope everyone. Those who watch the recording also will continue to stay engaged in these critical issues. And Ella, thank you so much for being here and talking to us today. And I wish all of you enjoy the rest of your day and be well, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.